Welcome back to another episode of Dear Found Her. I am so excited about today's guest because the last time I saw her was in August of 2013. I had hosted an event for Blog Her at the Land of Nod, which was the kids company that Crate and Barrel owned. And this person came and she handed me a miniature pair of moccasins for the baby that was growing in my belly that is now Lila Pinchuk, turning 9 next month. And I said, these are so cute. Do babies need moccasins? And lo and behold, she did need moccasins. And I went on to buy her, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 more pairs of those moccasins. And that woman is Susan Petersen. She's the founder of Freshly Picked, which is now one of the largest names in the baby industry. And she has sold over 1 million pairs of those moccasins. So Susan, congratulations and welcome to Dear Found Her.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm excited to be here.
So good to see you. I truthfully, when you handed me the moccasins, I was like, is my baby going to wear these? And I mean, that's what I thought, but she did. And we went on to buy many more pairs of the moccasins, which I then, gifted forward.
Aren't they the best?
They are the best. And kids do need them. Babies do need them because they stay on their feet, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just love for you to take us back to when this started, how this started. Take us back to your kitchen when you were sewing these moccasins on your own.
Yeah. So
how you got to where you are.
Well, I started Freshly Picked in 2009 when my son was born. I wanted some soft-soled baby moccasins for him, and I couldn't find them anywhere. So at the time I had a pretty unsuccessful Etsy shop and an equally unsuccessful blog. But, I would make stuff for my Etsy shop and put it on my blog and I'd sell 1 or 2 things. And it was kind of the thing you did back then. And when Gus was born, I made him a couple pairs of moccasins and I put them on my blog just to be like, oh, look what I did. And the response was insane. And by insane, I mean 7 people instead of just my mom commented and said they'd buy them. And so I was like, all right, I'll sell them. So I made 20 pairs, put them in my Etsy shop. And they just sold out within 15 minutes. And then it just kind of took off from there. I quickly moved over to Shopify and started driving traffic to my site via my blog and then Instagram when that came around. And we did moccasins for the first 8 years. And then we started adding new categories. We now have diaper bags, swaddles, hard sole shoes, within swaddles, a whole sleep category there, and just really sit comfortably in pregnant and new mom category. Our customers tend to age out at about 2 years, and we've been able to build a really robust, beautiful business where we get to celebrate motherhood in all its shapes and forms.
So when I met you, it was 2013, and I don't think that you had really blown up yet, to be honest. I don't think that it was it was kind of on the precipice of that because Lila was a baby and I did buy more baby shoes for her from you. I remember when you first started, really started and things got really big, they were limited edition and you couldn't get the colors you wanted. And I mean, they really sold like hotcakes. I mean, it was crazy. What was the moment that you went from kind of that Etsy shop where you handed me a pair of moccasins to that store online where maybe it wasn't you producing, it probably wasn't anymore. And you were selling out these colors of moccasins. What was kind of the tipping point there?
So it was, it was a lot of hard work. Shark Tank was the tipping point. So when I went on Shark Tank, that seemed to be, we went in on 2014. So I was 5 years in, and I had worked really hard to build really good relationships with influencers but Shark Tank made us a national, it made us a known name. Shortly, that's where a lot of our partnerships that we still work with today came from. So Nordstrom came from me being on Shark Tank. The buyer at Nordstrom watched it and reached out and wanted to buy. Disney.
Was it Ellen?
It was Ellen. We love Ellen.
So I'm going to give a shout out to Ellen. I'm not going to cut this out, but Ellen actually, her and a team of people, there were other people on that team, brought Bump Club into the fold of Nordstrom when they started carrying baby.
Yeah.
And we hosted exclusive events for them across the
Mhm.
country with Jamie Grayson. And they were a huge, huge partner of ours. And Ellen was incredibly supportive of Bump
She's
Club. So
incredible. And that was kind of back in the buying days of Nordstrom where it was more merchandising and less data driven. Now it's really data driven, data. Now it's data driven. And so Ellen was awesome. Disney was awesome. And right away, our traffic doubled. Our sales doubled, everything doubled. So that's when things became exclusive and hard to get.
when you went on Shark Tank, how did that come about? Did someone approach you or did you submit and apply? I mean, that was early on in Shark Tank too. So
Yeah.
the process for Shark Tank is very different now than it was when you went
Yeah.
on.
So I was on season 6. I actually thought it was for inventors. When the first couple that I saw, it looked like it was for people who were inventing stuff. So I didn't realize that it was just for entrepreneurs who are building a business. But for me, I applied super late. I have a really good story and I'm really articulate and I know how to tell my story. And so I applied in May and I went on in July. And I didn't have to like audition or anything. They just kind of slid me in.
Were you prepared for the onslaught of sales that you got when the episode aired?
Yes. Yeah, we were. We definitely from like an operational point of view, we were. Um it was what no one ever talks about, and I think I actually talk to influencers about this a lot, is the attention. No one really can prepare you for the emotional taxing of the attention that comes with something like that. And you think you're ready for it, but that was like my first instance where I had to deal with like a lot of bullying. I don't even a lot of criticism from online communities and people thinking they know a lot about you. And it's actually really, this sounds so privileged and I recognize that, but it is hard to gain a lot of attention really quickly and to know, because at the end of the day, attention's momentum, and to know how to make that work for your business. And I didn't know how to at the time. I feel like I did a pretty good job, but now given what I know now, I think like if I were to have that kind of attention again, I could really turn it into some momentum that would be pretty meaningful.
You've done a really good job with your marketing, and I say that from my vantage point where I sat as a potential partner of
Yeah.
Freshly Picked. And from what I know was, you guys were always open to partnerships and to gift guides and collaborations. There was never any I want to put it out there. There was never any monetary exchange with you guys. And I feel like you have done a really great job capitalizing on your brand, the product, the aesthetic of the product, and the partnership element, because
Mhm.
from where I sit, it doesn't seem like you have spent a ton of money on marketing, but you have done a really good job getting it into the hands of a lot of people, unless you were paying influencers to do that. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about how you created
Sure.
this like aura around the moccasins and then eventually the other products.
So we actually don't pay influencers up front. We will pay them commission off of based on what they sell. But for me, good marketing's all about reciprocity. And like at the end of the day, we're all kind of going after the same customers. So if there's a way that our business and your business can work together, that to me, that's the most meaningful. Also, I believe in relationships before contracts. So like with all of our influencers currently, and we're in a unique spot. Well, Lindsay, I'm preaching to the choir here, but literally every day I'm looking for new customers because
Yep.
people are aging out of my product every day. And so every day I'm having to go out and look for new customers. And for Freshly Picked to stay relevant, aspirational, and top of mind for 13 years across however many moms that we've done. I feel really proud of that. And all of that comes down to the relationships that I continue to build within the influencer community and within the baby category in and of itself. And so for me, it's always, always, always about relationships. I'm more interested in like you and your kids than I am in what your business can do for me. And then if we can find a way to work together that both of us come out looking great, then that's how I want it to go.
I love that you say this because obviously that's how I built Bump Club.
Yeah.
Obviously down the road, we had sponsorships for our events like Nordstrom and Gearpalooza, et cetera. But that is how I built Bump Club. And I never stopped building Bump Club that way. Even when we were taking, paid sponsors and whatnot, we still had partnerships that propelled the business. And truly those partnerships propelled the growth of the business more so than many of the paid partnerships. Right. And I always, always, always say to clients now and then as well, obviously, that a good partnership is worth more than the few $1,000s they're going to give you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because to your point, if everyone wins and we're all trying to reach the same people and we collaborate, there's nothing better than a partnership like that.
I agree.
I mean, it's, and
I want a relationship going forward. I'm way more concerned about the relationship than the contract.
Because ultimately people will buy the product.
Yeah.
Product.
Yeah.
If it's a good product and people like it and they want to see it.
Yeah.
How has influencer marketing changed since you started? Because I mean, I sort of know the answer, obviously, but I would like for you to share it because it's a different world, I have actually today on the podcast, there was an episode that dropped and we talked about influencer marketing, but we talked about how influencers are one thing, but influentials are another. And when I was on my way out of Bump Club, and even now with Dear Found Her, I would much rather work with someone who's influential in their space than someone who's a quote influencer and only wants money from an affiliate or, a check for writing a post. And so I would love for you to kind of like share how it's changed and share how best you think it is to work with people that are influencers now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm in a really unique position to observe this because I live in Utah. And
can you explain why that is? Because I know that, but my average listener does not know why.
We incubate them here. I don't in your kindergarten class when there's an incubator with the eggs in it and then 12 chicks pop out. We incubate them in Utah, and literally every week, 12 new influencers pop out with like 10,000 followers and people talking about them. And they are aggressive, hungry, humble, like really inspiring to be around. And so, in fact, I had a friend who was working at TikTok, and I had some questions on TikTok marketing, and we were on a Zoom call, and he's like, "Okay, do you need any help with creators?" And I was like, "No, I live in Utah." And he's like, "Oh yeah, good point." Like you will find with the I don't want to even put a number to it, and I wish someone would do some research around this, but there is a high percentage of influencers that are from Utah, live in Utah, or have ties to Utah. And so we are always thinking, so the pendulum has swung back and forth. And I mean, Lindsay, we've been doing this for like over a decade. And so we have seen the pendulum swing back and forth. And how it goes is big companies, publicly traded companies, big companies that have massive marketing budgets, all of a sudden make influencers part of their marketing campaign for Q2 or Q4 or whatever it is. And then the influencers are flooded with this money, but it's from brands that don't align with their audience necessarily. Like, yeah, you can get paid $20K to do a Kraft mac and cheese campaign, but at what cost to your audience and the authenticity there. So I've seen it go back and forth where the big brands are paying, then the big brands pull out, and then they're demanding, then the influencers are kind of demanding the payment, but no one's going to pay it because we don't have an influencer marketing budget. Like, it's not there. It's minuscule. And so then it swings back and forth. So I've seen that enough times that I don't engage in that. I don't try to play that game. There are two truths that I know about influencers. influencers love free stuff with no strings attached, especially if they're going to use it. Like, we don't want free stuff we're not going to use, but
Right.
if you're going to use stuff, then they love it, and they love it with no strings attached. Freshly Picked is honestly something that people either use or don't use, and I'm always hoping that I'm reaching the right moms that are interested in using it. And then the other thing I know about influencers is gaining a following and being out there for public consumption is very lonely. And so there are a few people, and it becomes, and I think probably your audience understands this, when you start becoming successful at anything, you lose meaningful conversations with people that you like. You can't talk to, I mean, at least there in my life, there's a lot of conversations that I can't have with my sister, like I'm not talking to her about my P&L. Like,
And that's why we have this podcast.
yes. And influencers grow really quickly, and sometimes they get lost. They don't know what to do. And they're like, wait, what's next? And I sit in a really unique position where I can help them navigate that, because I've been here. I know what to do. I speak the language. I understand how to help them. And so I'm always, my approach to influencers is relationship first. Again, back to, and so there are a couple things we do. We have events where we require nothing from influencers. We have about six a year. We had a dance party, MILF's Night Out, in March, and we just got this fun DJ. Everyone came, they danced. No one was required to post. No one was required to do anything. And mom, like, you forget when you have kids, I just want to go move my body. I just want to go out with my girlfriends and have a fun time, And so we do that. We had a pickleball tournament where you could bring your spouse, and that was really fun. We did a fringe jacket night where you brought a jean jacket and we sewed fringe on the back. And then once a month we do influencer lunch where we invite like a dozen of them to our office, and we just get to know them. Like, what are you guys working on? What's good? What's bad? What's going on? And none of these events are we asking them to post. And I have a lot of relationships, so I'm able to pull off, I think this year total, I have spent just over $1,000 on events. And that's not including the product we give away at the events, but just like leveraging my relationships within the community to get these like free spaces, free, like just things sponsored or paid for. But we want to be, motherhood's hard. It's tricky. Influencing's hard. It's tricky. We want to be your best girlfriend that you can actually have a conversation with it about.
And I would venture to say that even though you don't require people to post, they still do. A lot.
They do. And
they want to be invited, and they want to be a part of that, and they're proud of it. And so they want to share that they're there, regardless of if you're paying them or not, which you're not. And that just goes back to the relationship. And I love that you're sharing this, because everyone wants something instantaneously now, and everyone thinks it happens overnight, but the relationship is a long game. But when you have these relationships and you do things like this, it benefits times 10.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I'm really like, I'm going to ride for you. Like, if you come and you're going to like invest in Freshly Picked, like I'll ride for you and what you're doing. And so I feel like like people feel that they know if you're being sincere or not. And we just tried to work it around me, because people want access to me, and I want to be able to like share my wisdom and my knowledge and like access and how to have fun with me,
I want to share really quickly about my experience with the Utah influencers. So we hosted a Gear Palooza in Utah. I can't remember I think we did it twice. And the first time we did it, I was like, oh, holy shit. Like, really and truly, I was like, oh my God. And what blew me away the most is that no one wanted to pay for a ticket to come to this event, because everyone in Utah is so used to getting everything for free. So, we did have about half the people pay, and then we extended invitations to influencers, and we got a ton of press and notoriety and like exposure. And it was a very big eye opener for me because we just weren't aware that that's how it was until we were there. It was a great event. And when we came back, we actually positioned the event around the influencers. I don't even know that we sold tickets. Maybe we sold a few. I'm not like to a limited amount of people, but we built the event as an influencer event. We gave like additional things away from the brands. Like the brands also knew it was an influencer event and not a paid event. And we got so much exposure from it.
Mhm.
And it was just like a different mindset, like going into the event in Salt Lake City than it was everywhere else because everyone at this event had over 100,000 followers on
Yeah.
Instagram. I mean,
Yes.
that was like a low number.
Yes. And like influencers built Freshly Picked. Like it was me making friends with up and coming influencers that built Freshly Picked. And so for us, influencer marketing will always be part of what we're doing. And not like, oh, we're going to pay, but like we're always going to be investing in that relationship. Yeah.
When was it that you decided to extend your brand? Because it's a natural extension, obviously, to do diaper bags in the sleep category. I mean, and anyone in the baby space knows it is, once you have a reputable brand, it makes so much sense to offer additional extensions.
Yeah.
So when did that happen?
It was 2017, actually. We felt like we had kind of built the soft sole business as big as we could build it. Like you can only do so many soft soles, you know? And baby footwear is actually a pretty small category. Like it is compared to like other footwear
Yeah.
categories. And so we were thinking like, what is what's kind of the next thing? Now we have like a whole criteria of like when we go into a new category, but that at the time it was like what pairs well with baby shoes and is kind of a high price point because online marketing or online advertising became like a really big part of our business at that time. And you got to think about ROAS when you're coming up with a new a new product. So diaper bags just really made sense. And so we kickstarted our diaper bag in 2017. We raised just under $400,000, which allowed us to fund our first PO. And then we expanded that category once we started to gain traction. And then in 2019, we came out with our sleep category.
All right. So the freshly picked diaper bag is like the bag of choice when you look at the influencer market. And when I very vividly remember when I was in Salt Lake City, this was the case. And it was right after you launched.
Uh-huh.
And you guys have applied the same theory and methodology that you use with the moccasins to the diaper bag, obviously. But I would venture to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the diaper bag is maybe even the entry point now for many moms because of how you've marketed your whole line, essentially.
Yeah. So our approach with the diaper bag was, which it's funny that even in 2017, this felt revolutionary for a lot of people, was just because you had a baby doesn't mean you lost your sense of style. And so that was our approach with the diaper bag. And that has continued to be our approach, which is what is trending in bags right now and how can we make that functional around a diaper bag. So we're looking at fashion first and function second. So timeless fashion, not like trends, but excuse me, stuff that people always want. So that's been our approach. And now, yeah, our diaper bag is an entry point for a lot of people because
it comes first.
Yeah, it comes first. And it's the only thing we actually spend advertising dollars on because we have the margin to do it there. And then also it's a purchase that you're usually making when you're pregnant. And so, and shoes, you might get one or two pairs of shoes before you have the baby, but those usually come after you have the baby. Yeah.
So throughout this whole time, this 2009, we're at 13 years now. What has been like the highest high and the lowest low? And so much has happened. And I know I had someone ask me this today, this exact same question. And that's why I'm asking you, because I feel like
good question, Lindsay. Oh, so it's funny because they happened within like 6 months of each other, actually. I raised money in 2017, and I don't know. Actually, I don't, raising money is like,
Yeah. I didn't raise money. I sold, but yes, I know from talking to other founders and from watching other founders, it's a job within itself, if
it's
not
a job within itself, but
multiple jobs.
it is, at the end of the day, words of affirmation is my love language. And it is like the ultimate words of affirmation, like, good job, you're doing a good job, because you just got a huge check for your business that you've been blood, sweat, and tearing over for the last like 7 years. Um, and we ended up with, like, honestly, best partners ever. They are incredible. They were the same group that invested in Reagan and actually, like, she sits on my board now. She's incredible. And
I mean, I worked with Reagan when I mean, that's how I know Aiden and Anae. She was one of my first,
is there
the,
anyone better?
like, and like,
So
I haven't
sweet.
talked to her in years and years and years. Please tell her I
Yeah,
said hello. But like,
I will.
she was, to your point, just so supportive.
Yeah.
And, and it was like, I was so sad when she wasn't like my person anymore.
Yeah. And she's incredible. She's back in Australia, kicking ass down there, of course. But I love her. I'll always respected her, really looked up to her. And so that was like an amazing dream come true. Loved it. And then about 6 months later, I found out that my finance, and I don't know that I've told this on a podcast before, Lindsay.
I feel
Um,
so special.
the guy running my finances had been embezzling from the company for like 2 years.
Oh my God.
And we had stolen a lot of money from the company and then a lot of money from my family personally. And it was like so insane because we literally had no money to run the business. My investors and I had to put a bridge loan back into the business. And then also, like, the money for, like, our money that we had finally got paid for all of our hard work was also mostly gone. And so I had to work back from that. And that was like really hard. It finally wrapped up like last year, and
Oh
of
my
last
God.
year was kind of like the last kind of thing. And luckily was able to keep the business going, able to keep my family afloat, didn't have to declare bankruptcy, which, as you know, when you're out raising money is not a good thing.
No.
And was able to come back from that. But those two things, it's funny, they just happened like right after one another. Yeah.
How did you find out? And if you want me to cut it out, I will, but I just am so curious. Like, did you just notice that things were missing? And like,
Yeah, it was my personal account. We were in the middle of doing some pretty big transactions personally, and my account was drained. And I thought it was a mistake at first.
were there repercussions for this person?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? That was actually a really hard part because I felt we were really close. Our families were close. Um, the big thing that I remember my first appointment with my therapist after this, I was like, I just want to forgive this person. Like, that's where I want to get.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that's totally possible. And so we've gotten to a point where, I recognize it for what it was. And I feel like at the end of the day, we're all like 2 to 3 bad decisions away from this. Like, it feels far away, but like we really like, I've seen some decisions in my life where I'm like, woof, that could have led down a wrong path. And this person had a gambling addiction. And so it's just, which came from some trauma in their childhood. And it's just, it was hard to watch and it was hard to be a part of. But I'll tell you what, like, I am such a better person. I am such a better business owner. I'm such a better boss. I am a better steward of my money. I'm a better wife. Like, literally, I am better all around because of this. I wouldn't pick it again. Not that we ever have a choice, but I would not give it back because of the lessons I was able to learn and in the ways I grew.
Well, and I was going to ask you, what are some of the top lessons that this experience taught you? Because I think that this too is very common. I think,
Mhm.
thank you for sharing, because I think that when it comes to finances and money, like, I know I am not the best at that. And so I always have hired someone,
Yeah.
and I've had good people and I've had not so good people. And as a founder, it's really it's important that you know
Uh-huh.
and understand your
Yep.
finances, but also that you have someone that you can trust. And so, I would love for you to share a couple of the lessons that you learned from this experience.
Oh gosh. The big one is like people are still trustworthy, honestly. Like that's my number one. I never and I'm not a victim, this is something that happened. Um, I think just don't talk shit about people because it is someone's life. They're really living that right
Yeah.
now. Um, at the end of the day, people are good and we just decisions get made and consequences get compounded and um that's that was a big one for me is like there are very few people in your life that are actually bad people. Most everyone is good even when they've done really bad things. um don't give other people your bank passwords or access to your account.
Or make sure that the access is limited access.
Yeah, or a double signature. That's
Yeah.
always helpful. Um, I think, yeah, like pettiness is not gonna make you feel better about anything
Yeah.
ever. You'll probably feel worse. And there's like it is, oh, and if you're going through a hard thing, go to the thrift store, buy a stack of like 20 plates and find a brick wall. And then when you have a hard day, go and throw those plates at the brick wall and make you feel way better.
That's really great advice. It's like a smash room. They have
Yes, like a
places like
smash
that now.
room. Yeah, but you can just get plates for like 10 cents a piece. Yeah.
So what's next for Freshly Picked?
Oh my goodness, what's next? We are growing like crazy right now. I am so curious. I'd love to see, they were like saying, oh, there's going to be COVID babies, and there ended up not being like a baby boom. I think because we were home with our children, and unless it was a first time, you're like, I'm not having another kid right now. But I think that there is a baby boom from all these vacations everyone's going on this year. I think there's a baby boom coming. We are working hard on expanding into TikTok. It's like, I can't wrap my head around it, but we are hiring the youngest, smartest, most digitally native person we can find and letting them just go ham on it. We we're gearing up for Q4 right now and working on all of our product for next year. So
this is my last question. I want you to go back to your kitchen in 29. And what are 3 things you would tell Susan Petersen?
oh, such a good question. I actually think about this a lot. Number one, just like enjoy those boobs, girl. They're never gonna be that good again. Just let them out to breathe more than you do.
Great
um,
advice.
I feel like, don't you want to tell all 20-year-olds that?
Yes.
Show them to as many people as you can.
Because it's my constant like struggle. So
Yes. It's like, I mean, they're good in a different way, but never like they were back then. Uh just like, don't you this just like stuff I wish I could give to every girl in their 20s, which is like, no one's thinking about you as much as you're thinking about yourself. And so just have fun and be nice.
great. I'm going to ask you one more thing, actually.
Okay.
Now I want you to give 3 tips of advice for a female founder who's just starting out.
Oh, really, really good. Um, okay, number one, it's balance is just straight up bullshit, and the world will try to get you to buy into that, and don't buy into it. How I look at it is that I have 4 boiling pots of water on the stove, and at any point I can turn the boil up or down. And sometimes you got to cook pasta, sometimes you got to cook other stuff, and you don't have to cook everything at the same time. And don't look at it as a scale, but look at it as stuff that you can give attention and time to, but that you don't always have to give attention and time to everything. So number one. Don't buy into balance. It is not a thing. It does not exist. Number two, as soon as you make enough money, hire out as much of your house stuff as you can. And even if you're trading, I used to trade stuff. Like I used to trade moccasins for housekeeping. I used to trade moccasins for other stuff. I decided, when my first time I did homework with my daughter, I decided I am not a homework or a chore mom. I turn into not a good version of myself. So I have not done homework or chores since my children were little. I have a nanny or a house manager that helps manage that, so that when I'm spending time with my kids, we are just
Enjoying the time, right?
enjoying it. So there is a house standard that has to be maintained. You have to do your homework, you have to do your chores, but I'm not going to be the one that manages that. And then the other thing is, it is not men versus girls in the business world. There are assholes in both genders, and there are also really nice people in both genders. And so if you run into an asshole that's a man, don't associate with them. Most of my guy friends that are in business, actually all my guy friends that are in business, really want women to succeed and really want to be part of the solution of getting women at the forefront of business, getting women funded, having more women in press and representation, all that. They just don't know where to start. So I make them part of the solution. I give them tasks to do. I tell them to come back and tell me when they finished it so I can give them something else to do. So it is not men versus women. And if you come out swinging like that, you are not going to get anything done. If you're running into assholes, find some new people to hang out with.
Susan Petersen, founder and CEO of Freshly Picked. I wish I could be on a fly on the wall when you gave me those moccasins 9 years ago. I am so proud to have you here, and I'm so proud of both of us sitting here and how far we've come since that moment. And I am so honored that you took the time to share your story with the Dear Founder community. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. This is amazing.